Welcome back to the hustle and welcome back to the grind, everybody. As they're sailing off to their great jobs, I'm not. Guess what? You know what? At the end of the day, nobody really cares. Nobody really cares whether you're here, whether you're not, whether, you buy that new car, you go into your job and you show your new car to somebody, you roll up and those coworkers look at your car and they're like, oh, wow, nice car. But inside they're like, oh, I wish I could afford that. And they're clearly not in your best interest. 9 times out of 10, most people are either envious, they don't care, they don't want it. And quite honestly, you're almost better off not even telling people your business because most people just don't care. And here's a little bit of a morose thought. Unfortunately, there's a strong reality. Most of the time we're going to find ourselves, or realistically, we're going to wind up 6 feet under. That's just the reality. Everybody winds up there. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine yesterday, actually, and we were chatting about this. And the thoughts were, you know what? We live, we hustle, we push, we grind. We do all these things to try to generate revenue, income, big houses, cars, all these things. Try to build a legacy. Why do all these things? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have $50 billion or you have $5 in your bank account on that last day and that last sleep that you have before you find yourself going under 6 feet. The reality is we're all going to land in the same place. And honestly, sure, well, a lot of our current generation, say you have kids or grandkids, they're going to miss us. That day will come and we'll be gone and it really won't matter too much. For the most part, those will miss us. You know what? We go away, I go away, my kids they'll miss me. Quite often we're going to find those people around us in our immediate circle, specifically our family, are going to miss us. But you know what? By the next generation, their kids won't even know who we were. So quite honestly, 2 to 3 generations out, it won't matter and nobody will care. But on top of that, even in our circle today, there's so many people that we encounter on a regular basis, day in, day out, whether it's coworkers, whether it's people that we consider friends, they don't care. Most of the time, people are busy living their lives, and that's totally fine. But a lot of it comes down to more than just everybody's busy with their own world and their own lives. See, society's so wrapped up today in everything that's around, the commercialism, the next job promotion, what they're doing tomorrow on the vacation and that car they're going to buy. Everybody's wrapped up in these little orbits within their life. See, their life, think about it, is like the sun. And all these little planets that orbit around the sun. That realistically is very much like people's lives. They have all these little things that orbit around their lives. And you come across their orbit every once in a while. It's like you look outside and, I'm not here to talk astronomy, but realistically, let's just make it a simple analogy. You know what? In your life, you circle around and every once a day, you see that moon come across the horizon or that sun come across the horizon. Well, that's people in your life. Every once in a while, somebody comes across your horizon. But then they're on the other side because now the sun's shining. Where's the moon? It's on the other side. See, out of sight, out of mind. And quite honestly, people just don't care. They don't care about what you've got going on. They don't care about your health. And quite honestly, I found that, realistically in life, in my job environment, people look interested. They perk up. But most of the time, that interest comes in a way of just wishing that they had something that you had. Or they honestly are just somewhat actively listening just to show that they care. In reality, most of the time they don't. But that's fine because we all know that we all live in this kind of environment, that we all get caught up in our daily lives. And that's just something that we all just have to get used to. Again, 2 generations later, nobody will even know our name. And so it seems like a sad state of affairs. And what can actually even work more in your favor, and while it might seem slightly lonely, a big part of the problem that we all encounter today too is not just that people don't care, it's people don't care if they have nothing to gain. You see, it's when people have something to gain from you, that's when they care. When people have vested interest in, talk about, say, beneficiaries of a will, then they care, right? If people all of a sudden know that they can get money from you, then they care. If people all of a sudden realize, hey, he's got a set of hockey tickets and I think he's going to ask, then they care. Otherwise, they just don't care. And so the reality is, when you learn to set your boundaries, less and less people seem to care. Now, why is that? Well, setting boundaries is really just setting a standard to which people have to approach you. Now, it's not about being aggressive. It's about being assertive. You know, I've had people, and you've likely had people too, that, you know what? Oh, look at that. You're getting gray. You're getting kind of gray over there. Hey, you're getting kind of gray. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. And, you know, then they'll try to deflect. And we all know people like that. They throw a little jab and then they kind of cover it up with a, just kidding, or, you know, whatever, or just laugh about it, and, you know, and get everybody laughing, and they try to make it light. But whenever there's smoke, there's fire. And when people say things that you feel that they've crossed that line, that's when, unfortunately, things get real. And you have to learn, and we all have to learn, and society in general should do a better job of setting those boundaries. Because setting those boundaries and saying, you know what, that's not cool, and I'm not good with that, and your little insults are not appreciated. And quite honestly, once you start setting those boundaries, what I've found is things have changed lately. You see, I used to be that pushover, and quite often, many of us are. Again, I've talked about this before. People pleasing. You want to be liked by everybody. And so you accept those little jabs. You accept people wanting to go with you to the hockey game, so you give them that set of hockey tickets. You accept that that's just the way life is, and you know what? People will talk to you and treat you better if you have something to offer. But the moment you don't have something to offer, and to double down on that, the moment you set a baseline and a standard to which people have to treat you, and you draw that line in the sand, then people really don't want to have anything to do with you. And so when I say that people don't care, they literally don't. So when you stand up for yourself, or your wife, or your kids, or your husband, or brother, or uncle, or aunt, when you stand up for somebody, or you stand up for yourself, you're setting that standard. You're drawing that line in the sand. But as soon as you do that, people see that as resistance, and they have nothing left to gain. You see, because if you're putting a line in the sand, the gain from them insulting because I got a few gray hairs is a good laugh and a chuckle. What's to gain though, realistically? But they feel that there's something to gain. And quite often, if we can poke fun at other people, it just somehow makes us feel better, doesn't it? Yeah, not really, but that's not the great way to approach this. Realistically, to provide a situation where they feel good about themselves, they quite often have to tag along with others that have something that they don't. And in doing so, you'll realize quite frequently that those are the people that have something to gain are the ones that are trying to get closest to you. Now, it's a sad state of affairs, but I found that quite often too. As soon as you draw that line in the sand and you say, no, I'm not good with that, all of a sudden people start to disappear. You see, in this last 8 months, 9 months, I've been doing this. I've been setting those standards. And it's not that I don't care. It's just I don't care to have people in my life that don't care about me, you see. The people that do care, you know, my wife, my kids, those people matter to me. I keep them close. You know, we support each other and we help each other out in any which way we can. That's what families do, and that's what people do to help each other. But I had people that friends, quote unquote friends, air quotes, you'll notice, that were supposedly friends, but as soon as you have nothing to offer, for example, once I left that company, the illusion of having a role that was higher than theirs meant that they lost that piece of the network. And it's quite interesting. As soon as I was withdrawn from that network, you never hear from these people again. They gave you the illusion that they cared. They gave you the illusion that you were important in their lives. They gave you many an illusion. And people will tend to do that. But quite often, once you draw that line in the sand and you say, look, either one of two things, you either leave that situation, you no longer have anything to offer to these people, then they just sort of start disappearing. And so when you really break this down and you realize that you either do one of two things, you no longer have something to offer, or you forcefully assert that I should be treated in a certain way, and you create that standard, you quickly realize that those people disappear because they no longer care. And they likely never cared. And so realistically, we just got to get through this life one day at a time, asserting our own presence, asserting our own beliefs and our own priorities. And those people that are left standing, those few people that might be left standing right next to you, those are the people you want in your life. You see, because quite often we get lost up in the fuzz and the haze, and we can't tell right from wrong. Sometimes we can't tell who's the good people in our lives, who are the users, who are the abusers, because there's a lot of people, especially in our working careers, we realize everybody's there for different reasons, and just like the orbit, as I just mentioned, they come in our lives and they leave our lives. They come in our lives and leave our lives. And so realistically, this is what it's like in life. People in our lives, they come and go. How do you differentiate whether the good quality people that actually care about you? Well, you create that standard. You assert that they treat you with respect and that there is a line that they should not cross. And if it's somebody that cares about you, your husband, your wife, your kids, you say, look, I'm not good with that. What you just said actually hurt me, and I, quite frankly, I'd rather you not say that again. That's all it takes, is that comment. You don't have to be rude about it. As soon as you say that, chances are, if your kids listen to that and they respect you, they're going to adhere to that and they won't cross that line again. But if you cross people at your job and then they come and get it and do it again and do it again and do it again, then one of two things. Either A, they never cared about you, they don't care, and they certainly don't respect you, and B, get them the hell out of your life. See, because people like that are merely toxic. They're the moon that's sailing by, and I prefer the sun myself. They can be the moon. Well, I can show them all the moon, really, for that matter. But at the end of the day, just know your limits, stay within it, and certainly keep those closest to you that actually matter. Because believe it or not, there's very, very few people who actually care about you in this world.